Good morning, everybody. So you can tell we have a crazy team behind the scene. They said they're going to do something funky. I didn't know what it was. Okay, I think I'm going to break the ice here, just switching on from Microsoft speakers to non-Microsoft speakers. First of all, thank you very much, the whole Microsoft team, Jim, Jeff, John Fancy, and everybody here. So it was an awesome session, and we're getting really, really good feedback from all attendees. I think it's not one of those typical Twitter demo sessions, and they're getting some really good value out of the whole content in the past day and off. Today, now I'm going to, give just a quick product update on both BizTalk360 and Serverless360. The way I structured it is, a lot of people have seen quite a bit of BizTalk360, so let's keep it minimal and look at what we've been doing with Serverless360. So in the last Integrate, we announced the RTM of Serverless360, and it took us almost a year to get to where we are. We went through a few re-architecture, we are learning ourselves. So the whole thing is being built on top of Azure. So we were learning quite a bit, and we had to re-architect our solution a couple of times to scale and take care of a bunch of things. So let's get started. So, okay, is the clicker working? Probably not. Okay, right. Okay, I know some of you are maybe fairly new to BizTalk360 and never heard of the concepts behind BizTalk360. At the very top of it, what we're trying to do is fill in all the gaps, what Microsoft has left when it comes to operations, monitoring, and analytics. So you can think of, you have a very good platform framework as a BizTalk server. It helps you mainly on the on-premise integration. And it's missing out on some of the core aspects when you wanted to run your solution. So it's things like security and monitoring, and don't treat your BizTalk as a black box. So we provide a lot of analytics, a better exception handling, you consolidation of tools, so you don't need to use 7 or 8 different tools to support your stuff. So that's all with BizTalk360. So I know a lot of your customers are here, and most of you have seen numerous presentations in the past. We've been presenting this for almost all Integrate and also in some of the user groups and stuff. Okay, so this is another big milestone for us. So we have done 48 releases since we launched it in 2011. So 2011 is when the product was launched, when I was all alone and started the journey. Since then, we have added 48 releases. So every 3 to 4 months once, we come up with a release. And every release, we make sure we are adding some meaningful functionalities, 3 or 4 good capabilities into the product. So you can multiply and see what the level of features, what we have in BizTalk360 now. Some of the challenges, what we typically try to address with BizTalk360 is mainly around support capabilities. Right now, if you're not using BizTalk360, you expect people who are supporting your BizTalk infrastructure to have a good knowledge of BizTalk, and they need to know exactly what they are doing, because you cannot just give your admin console to somebody who doesn't know anything about BizTalk. So that's the biggest challenge. And a lot of times you hook up your really good resource just on support kind of activities. So that can be eliminated if you use BizTalk360. Because we have a very fine granular level of control you can give, and we can simplify the UI so they don't need to be very complex. The admin console is basically all or nothing. It shows everything, but with BizTalk360 you can have a customized thing. Security auditing is one of the main capability from the operations perspective. So you know exactly who is accessing the system, and if they're doing anything in your environment, starting, stopping send ports, or restarting a host instance, all those things get audited, so you can go back and check. Productivity tool is, of course, that's our strength. We don't, right now people use 6 or 8 different tools BizTalk Admin Console, SQL Management Studio, BAM Portal, ESB Portal, performance counters, and all those kind of things. But we put everything into a single tool, and the important thing is it's a completely web-based application. So that gives you like a great level of usability, and people don't need to install admin console on each and every box they are using. Monitoring is one of our core strengths. We have like a quite in-depth coverage for monitoring because it's been built up right from the scratch, thinking BizTalk in mind. So some of the things like monitoring your transactions, like if you have to process certain volume of messages within a time window, you can have that level of monitoring. So if things are not going as expected, you will get alerted. Analytics and reporting is another thing where you really, like a lot of people see it as BizTalk as a big black box. They don't know exactly what's going on. So if you are, like the high-end customers build a bunch of things like the BAM solution and custom solutions on top of it. Of course, not everybody got the luxury to do those kind of things, but BizTalk360, it comes out of the box. So you just install it and you can use it. There is no development effort required. So if you have a BizTalk environment, you can install BizTalk360 and you get all the benefits straight out of it. Okay, today, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to give you some updates, like some of the features what we really introduced in the recent releases. So I'm just picked up the top 5 interesting things what we have released. So one of the first thing what we have done is BizTalk Server License Calculator, because we have a very good blog post saying how do you calculate the number of licenses you need for your BizTalk server environment, and that's one of the highest performing article in our whole blogs. So people come at least 100 people come every week, and then they try to figure out, okay, how do you calculate the number of licenses required? So what we have done is we took the entire logic and we put it as a small utility inside BizTalk360. So as soon as you install in your environment, it will tell you exactly how many licenses you need, and we even do what is the retail price and show you the price of the licenses required. That's something interesting. And we also recently introduced folder location monitoring. So, sometimes you miss out on the basic things, and every single BizTalk installation will have a file adapter. Picking up file and dropping somewhere, it's everywhere basically. And for some reason, we didn't have monitoring for file locations, basically folder locations. So we introduced that in the latest 8.4 release. In a similar way, any location, if it's a FTP location or FTPS or SFTP, so you can have a monitoring if the files are piling up in that location, there are over 100 files not picked up from that location, you can get alerted. Queue monitoring, we had support for MSMQ and Azure Service Bus for a while. And based on the request, we recently brought IBM MQ as well. So you can have a monitoring for a queue depth and size of the queue, the number of messages in dead letter, all those kind of things. And we have a couple of banking customers here. They're using quite extensively, they got quite a bit of host integration, IBM MQ kind of stuff. So they've been using it. Email templates is interesting. It's more of a UI thing. So we introduced a concept called email templates. So you may wanted to have a different style of emails going to different departments based on the alert condition. Or if you're a consulting company or have a managed services and you wanted to have different templated emails, so you can do that. And finally, throttling is another thing. We had throttling analyzer for a very long time, but finally we brought throttling monitoring. So you can say if the system gets into any throttling for a duration 10 minutes or something, you can get alerted. And you can also go a bit more granular. If there is a database session throttling or a rate throttling, something like that, and you wanted to get notified, you can do that. The next important update we wanted to give is, as a company, we all, in the journey, right? So we are moving from on-premise to cloud, and there's a lot of good stuff happening in the cloud, and the legacy or the BizTalk is not going to go away. So it's going to be next 10, 15 years. It's going to be both, it's a hybrid kind of thing, especially on the integration world. You'll have a BizTalk presence and then a lot of stuff happening on the cloud thing. And the cloud, mainly logic apps and the app services and service bus and those kind of things. So we are also heading in that direction. So we wanted to give like a one consolidated tool for people who are BizTalk customers now, but expanding to cloud. So you don't want to have like your support people using BizTalk admin console one day and then switching to the portal, Azure portal, and doing bunch of activities there, and the whole operation becomes really challenging. So we wanted to address that gap, and as part of that, so I will show you in live, like it's already there. You can manage the logic apps within BizTalk360. You can control, enable, disable it. You can see the trigger histories and all those kind of things within BizTalk360. You don't need to go to the Azure portal to do that. Similar way, we have a very good monitoring as well for logic apps. So one of the nice things is, like John was saying, I need to make sure I need to shut down this logic app after my demo. It will kill my billing. You can actually monitor that using BizTalk360. So you can say, if my total billable triggers goes above this range, send me an alert. So that's thanks to the metrics they expose. So now we have like this, like 30 or 40 different metrics you can monitor, and then you get alerted based on that. Service bus queues, we have like monitoring for service bus queues. So you can monitor the queue depth and size and all those kind of things. So if you're, the way you look at it is if you have BizTalk, but you're extending it to the cloud, you can use all these capabilities. And recently, it's the upcoming release, we also integrated the Azure integration account. So if you're using Azure integration account in the cloud, all those schemas, maps, and parties, everything you put into your integration account, you can actually view them, manage them within BizTalk360. So it's again, like cutting down the context switching between using admin console on one side and then Azure portal on the other side. So we wanted to bridge that gap. And we will see more and more investments we are going to make in that direction to give like a one tool to do. If you're doing integration in Microsoft space, we wanted you to use our products. So that's a goal. All right. Okay, let me go to a few things here. So I got a couple of browsers open. So this is where you can see the widget here. And it actually, once you install it, you get this thing, and it tells you how many cores you have, what is the retail price of each core, and what is the pricing for it. So this is actually running on as a VM in the Azure. So that's why it just got a single processor. But if you have like a really complicated environment, it will actually calculate everything and it will tell you exactly. So it saves you tons of time. So let me go to some of the monitoring stuff I mentioned. So I go to manage mapping, and you can see there's quite a depth of monitoring you can do for from BizTalk360. And by the way, for some of you who haven't seen BizTalk360 before, this is the tool, and of course, it got a nice user interface compared to admin console. When you come to file locations, you can see there's a file. It automatically picks up all of your configured send ports, receive locations, and then you can just go and configure it. It's same story. It automatically picks up all your FTP locations, and you can just we pick up as much configuration as possible. The goal is to make it as simple as possible as well. So you don't want to spend too much time on configuring. So you just want to make it seamless for you to use it. When it comes to queues, you can MSM queue. It's all similar concept, but different types of queues. So you can go to IBM MQ, and it also automatically picks up the MQ that's already configured. And you can just change the configuration, and then you can use it. Let me go to the BizTalk environment side, and one of the thing. Okay, I need to go to the new version. Some of the stuff is new. Go to monitoring and manage mapping at the BizTalk environment level. So we got this host throttling now. So what you can do is, there are different. It picks up all the hosts in your environment. So in this case, we have 2 hosts. And you can see the settings here, and by default, we pick up any throttling condition, but you can change it and say I wanted to do like a process memory throttling, or I can choose like a system memory throttling, and all those kind of things. And you can easily, like these things are pretty difficult because you need to do the data collection first, and then on top of that you need to do monitoring. So it's all inbuilt, and you can see the UI is quite sleek, and like you can configure it pretty quickly. Okay, and let me quickly show the monitoring template side. So I go to settings, And we have this monitoring and notification, and we have this concepts called email templates. So you can add as many templates as you want. And also you can customize it the way you wanted it, and you can preview it, and you can see like you can change the color and put some text and all those kind of things. So whenever you're configuring an alarm, you can pick up what templates you want. So like if different departments might have, you can even put some descriptive text. Maybe that particular department requires a bit more text on that template, so you can quickly do that. So let's go to the home section and Azure services. You can see this logic apps thing. And you can register all your Azure subscriptions, and once you register it, we pick up all those logic apps here, and you can see you can click and they say enable, disable, run trigger, all those operational things you can do, and we can also show you like what are the details of the execution of those logic apps as well. So what is the successful run and the trigger count, and you can show the graph view of how that logic app is performing, all those kind of things. Let me quickly cover one more thing. Okay, let me do this integration account. So again, the same concept, integration account. If you have some stuff configured in an integration account, so we pick up everything. So it's a bunch of schemas, maps, certificates, etc. You can pick on them, you can view them, and it's. I hope you got the idea. Basically, like whatever. We don't want you to switch between Azure portal and admin console. So you just want to have everything in one place. So what makes it really interesting is the monitoring side. So we have this concept called, okay, this is some of the dashboards you get. When you go to data monitoring, so we added this new section called logic apps. So you can add new, and then you pick up the subscription, and then you pick up the particular logic apps. And you can see all these different metrics. You can actually have like a monitoring on it. So there are some interesting ones like total billable executions. So you can have a monitoring on it. So if it exceeds certain volume, then if your developer has deployed something really crazy and is a for loop with so many things, you can pick up those kind of things. Okay, I think I'm doing okay with the time, I guess. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to show with BizTalk360. If in case you want a detailed demo, you're interested, just come talk to us and we can take it offline, and we can show a proper demo with the entire tool set. So I really wanted to spend some time on the service bus side of things. Okay, so what we are doing with Service Bus is pretty similar to what we have done with BizTalk360 for BizTalk Server. So of course, Microsoft is great in terms of as a platform company, and when it comes to tooling, they're getting better, but there is tons of gaps. Right, so like where you write a lot of tooling around it, and a lot of console applications to do this and that, and we really wanted to eliminate that completely. So it's a kind of similar kind of a logic. So we wanted to do better operations, monitoring, and analytics for the Azure Service Bus. The challenges are pretty similar, but slight variation. The Azure Service Bus itself is a raw platform. It got tons of functionality underneath, but the exposure is very limited. So when you go to Azure portal, it's very very basic, and you can't do a lot of things. There's a lot of interesting properties there. You cannot set it. I know pretty sure a lot of you have used a Service Bus Explorer. It's a great tool from Pablo, but you can't use that in a production environment because it's not supported. A lot of things, you really don't want all of your developers to have this desktop tool installed on each one of their desktops and do some crazy things on your production environment. So that's the thing we wanted to eliminate. Not just replacing Service Bus Explorer, it's more kind of turning out into a platform extension. So you have Service Bus, and we are adding a bunch of capabilities what will not fit into the Microsoft offering. So that's what we are trying to address with Service Bus 360. So lack of productivity tools, monitoring notifications, analytics, and those are the things we are trying to address. So you can think of it like it's basically a supercharging your Azure Service Bus. So if you are using Service Bus now, probably so you'll get an understanding of some of the stuff what you can do with Service Bus 360. So this is Service Bus 360. It's a kind of got a similar look and feel. So you can register some of the namespaces. So if you have like a production namespaces, you come and register it. And once you register it, we get this nice kind of a dashboard showing just the basic health of it and some of the metrics like the queues and topics and all those kind of things. And you can navigate inside and you can take a look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from associating a new namespace. So I'm just going to associate a new namespace. All you need is a connection string. So I'm going to the Azure portal, and I already have a bunch of service bus namespaces configured. I'm going to pick up this UAT1. You need a shared access policy, so there is one already defined. Of course, you don't want to use your root access policy, so you create one. All we need is a full manage rights on that namespace. So you pick up that, and we just need this connection string. So you copy this one, come back and paste it. So it's a demo UAT, and I can give a friendly name called, this is a UAT environment, and I need to tell whether it's a messaging namespace or a relay namespace or a event hubs namespace. So you pick it up, and it's registered. And if I go back to the dashboard again, so you should see the UAT environment coming up here. So let me dive in. And okay, of course, it's a clear namespace. There is nothing in there. So what you can do is you can create a queue. So you got the full CRUD operation, whatever you wanted to do. Something like, let's say, like customer orders. And I can change all those properties. And then, you can set this values like a default time to live, auto delete, and all this kind of things. You can also put a user description, because you may give a permission to a user, and if they're adding a queue in your production namespace, you wanted to know the reason, right? Like, why do somebody wants to create a queue all of a sudden in your production namespace? So if you put a description, that will all come up. So let me save it so that the queue is saved now. So it's there. So next step, maybe you wanted to fire some sample messages. Okay, let me go and say send messages. So you can see there is a sample message. You can put your test message. You can you put whatever you want, and you can say let me fire some 5 or maybe 10 messages. And we also have this custom properties. You can add some custom properties. Let me add like a integrate demo, and it's a true. And then let me send the message. So it should quickly pop up. So you can see there's an active messages is 10. So it just quickly fired, and you have this active messages. And you can click on them, and you can say maybe you can get the messages. So these are the 10 messages we posted. And you can see the details of the message. And this is the message, and this is the context properties we set. So you can see, during development or QA, it's quite useful for you to, quickly fire messages and then save it. So what we can also do is, okay, maybe we can go and change some properties. So you can go to properties, and let's say edit properties. I wanted to enable dead lettering on message expiration. And I also set that expiration to something like 10 seconds. And I put, we need this for a fix, blah, blah, whatever the thing you wanted to say. And, those properties will be automatically updated. So just to, these things are not available right now in the portal, and especially the auditing capability. So if you go to governance auditing, you should be able to see, it's created, and then the activity should come up. Okay, let me go to the UAT environment again. Okay, so let me, so what I've done is, I just shown you how to do simple send messages. So we also have the concept called activities. Probably you may wanted to, save bunch of your regular sample activities, and you wanted to fire messages. So I can create a sample send message activity, and I can say customer order samples, and I wanted to say I'm going to send 50 messages. And similar concept, you can add custom properties and say next. And here you got a bunch of options. Like you can pick up, if you have multiple queues, you can pick up to which queue you wanted to send. If you have topics, you can pick up. You can do the think time. So you wanted to simulate a real case scenario where you are getting messages every few milliseconds. You can do that. And if the task count is more scalability, you wanted to fire more messages at different threads, you can do that. And I can say I wanted to send 50 sample messages, and let me initiate straight away. And also you can change some system properties if you wanted to change as part of this sample message firing. And we also have an interesting thing called scheduling this activity. So you may wanted to simulate, okay, during the week, during a certain time, you wanted to throw some messages into your QA environment, and you wanted to see how your system is performing. So you can do scheduled activities as well. Otherwise, you can just say the configured one, and it's already fired up. So you can go and configure a bunch of these activities, and the system will keep firing. So it should automatically have clicked the thing, and you can see already there are 60 messages since I initiated it straight away. So let me switch to another namespace quickly to show you some of the dead letter capabilities. So you have a production environment. Let me dive into this. So it's a completely different environment, and you can see it's a bit more noisy. There are a lot of 20,000 messages in dead letter. And there's also, I enabled analytics for it. So if you go into the analytics tab, you should see this history of, okay, what is the volume of dead letter messages happening in that particular queue over a period of time. So that's very important, because the dead letter is one of the key operational things what you do with when you're dealing with messaging. So a message can get into dead letter for n number of reasons, and you can have a history of what's happening. So one of the interesting things what we have done is, you can go to dead thing, and you just navigate inside and say dead letter. And we also summarize, okay, you have 20,000 messages there. What are the reasons of this dead letter thing? So we have some interesting concepts behind the scene to figure out, the reasons behind the exceptions, why the messages end up in the dead letter. And right now I have only one, because just to simulate, I just set the expiration time and I have thrown something. But you can, if you have multiple reasons, you will see all of them, and then you can actually see why too many dead letters are there. So I can see the dead letter messages here. Okay, take a peek. And we also have this resubmitting the messages from dead letter into the main queue. So defer, there is a concept called defer in Service Bus. It's a quite unknown, we haven't seen that many people using it. So you can actually, we are using that functionality quite extensively to get the reliability of resubmitting the messages back from a dead letter into the main queue. Because if you use Service Bus Explorer and say there are 20,000 messages, let me go and resubmit it from one of the developer's desktop, and the implications, right? What happens if it crashes right in the middle? So we wanted to get that level of reliability when you're submitting messages back into the dead letter queue. So you can say you can defer the messages first. So I'm just picking up 10 messages. Those messages are deferred. So if you don't know the concept of deferring, they are not in the queue visible anymore. So if you do a receiver to pull those messages, they won't be visible. So the only way you can get hold of those messages is by sequence number. So that's what you're seeing in the sequence number column. And we use those messages to pick them up, and either you can resubmit them or delete them. And as part of that, we also figured out as a deferred queue, and you can see what are the messages right now in the deferred queue. So this is it's an accidental feature we introduced, but it's quite good if you're using message deferring. Okay, let me move on to quickly the monitoring section. So let's go back to our UAT stuff. So you can see that some of the messages are dead letter. Not some of the messages I submitted after resetting the property. Initially the queue didn't have that expiration property. I set it up, and then I pumped in 50 messages using an activity. So all those messages ended up in a dead letter queue. So you can easily set up monitoring. So you can go to monitoring. Okay, we have this concept called alarm. So first you need to create an alarm. So let's say is queue monitoring, and then you can say I wanted to monitor this and set the persist duration to 1 minute. Persist duration is basically how long you wanted to wait before that condition you wanted to trigger a notification, and you have all these properties like a time window, etc. I'm going to ignore that. And you can also have a periodic health check as well, like every day, every 2 hours once you wanted to know the health of that particular thing, you can do that. You move on, and we also have a different notification channels, which I'll cover shortly. So right now, let me leave it with email. So once the alarm is created, I can go to the queue, and I can pick up, I wanted to do monitoring, and you need to show which alarm you wanted to associate with. And I can quickly say I wanted to do the state monitoring, and I can also say I wanted to monitor the active queue length, and then the dead letter queue, and whatever. We have a bunch of all the key metrics. You can configure it, and you can see the current value is this, and then this is what level you wanted to set. I can edit and say, if it reaches 100, it's basically a error condition for me. So it's as simple as that. So once you do that, you can, the system gets monitoring, and then when you come here, it will actually automatically show what is the, you can see there's a warning, and you can see what are the reasons behind that warning. So what I also wanted to do is I want to show you the concept of notification channels. So we have this different notification channels. We can create email is one, and on top of that, we also have a lot of people use PagerDuty and Slack, and we recently introduced Microsoft Teams. So let me say you wanted to send a notification to in Microsoft Teams. I'm saying integrate 2017 demo. Go next. Oh, you need a webhook URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to the Teams, and you have this concept called connectors in Teams. You go to connectors and configured connectors, and let me add a new one. Let's say integrate 2017 demo, and let's say create. Okay, all you need is this webhook URL, done, and let me go back and say paste it, and then say add. So it's a new Teams channel is created now, and then what you do is when you come to monitoring side and during alarm creation. Okay, let's go to the UAT environment and go to monitoring, or I can go to basically alarms, and this is the alarm we just created. So let's go to next. And you can see this is available, so you can just enable it and then update it. So automatically now you get notifications in different channels like Slack and Teams and stuff like that. So you will see something similar to this. So once things goes wrong, you'll get a notification, and you can update it. Okay, let me move on very quickly. I think I have 10 minutes. Okay, we also have this, the topics is pretty identical to queues, so it's nothing different there. But there's one important differentiation when it comes to monitoring. So for topics, what you can do is you can enable state, and you can monitor the size of the thing. But what's interesting is a topic might have multiple subscriptions, right? So you can have a monitoring at a subscription level. So in this case, I got 2 different subscriptions, UK and country, based on the custom property country. So UK and USA. So I want to say I wanted to monitor UK, and you pick up the things you want and add to monitor. So you can see automatically those properties are added for this particular subscription. So in a similar way, I wanted to monitor the USA stuff and maybe different properties. And I can go add monitor, and things will add up. So it's a very powerful, you go a bit deeper and do it. So okay, next I wanted to jump into the relay side. So let me go to another namespace. It's basically a relay namespace. So what I have is it automatically lists all those relays available in this particular namespace, and I go to monitoring. So there is no web endpoints at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up a service which will hook up with relay. So this is the shared key. I'll need that. Okay, the relay is up and running now. So let me copy this stuff. More. Okay. There may be some. Okay, let me correct this thing. Okay, I'm going to Postman and make sure that relay is working. So I'm trying it, and then. Okay, the relay is up and running, and you can see actually that console app is a public URL now, and people can access it with this URL if you have the shared access key. So what I'm going to do is I'm copy this operation, come back to relay, and add a new endpoint, so it automatically picked up everything. So I just need to put the operation name and say, like get books, just a friendly name, get books operation, and click next. And you may want to set up some request parameters, like you may want to do some custom headers. You may want to add some payload in the body to call that particular relay service. So you have all those options, what you would expect when you're calling that relay. You can do that. And then go next, and this is where it gets interesting. So how do you want to monitor the response that's coming back from that particular relay service? So we can keep it very simple. I wanted to make sure the status is 200. You can also go a bit deeper, like I'm looking for specific keywords that coming out of that relay endpoint. So you can go a bit deeper, and you can say like free text or a JSON path or XML path and things like that. But I will leave it there and save it, so it should really show healthy because the service is, of course, it's up and running. So let me go and kill that service. I don't think I killed it. Okay, it's killed now. So if I come and do a refresh, it should say error. Okay, so I think I know a lot of people are using relay, and relay is a bit vulnerable, right? Because you're connecting to some of the on-premise stuff, and it can go down without anybody noticing it. I've spoken to a few people, and they all have the similar challenge, and they need to make sure they're monitoring all the relay endpoints. And this is very easy stuff. Like you can do all the configuration in 10-15 minutes. Okay, that's all on the relay side. Let me quickly go to the event hubs. This is the event hubs namespace. So event hubs is right now what we are doing is on the monitoring front. You can, similar to the topics, and you can monitor the subscriptions. With event hubs, you can monitor at the partition level. So of course, if you haven't used event hubs before, you may not understand the terminology. The event hubs, in yesterday's Dan's and Shubha's session, they were highlighting the concept of the event hubs and partitions and all those kind of things. So what you can do is you can monitor at the partition level. So you go a bit deeper, and similar to subscription, you can say I wanted to monitor the partitions. Okay, in this particular namespace, I only have two partitions, but you can have up to 16 partitions if I'm correct. So you can configure the number of partitions you want for that particular event hub. So you can configure whether all my partitions are healthy. Is it is expected load coming? So you can quickly easily say I wanted to make the incoming and outgoing message inside. So all those kind of things. It's a similar logic. You can have the partition for that. So I think I pretty much covered everything. So like if you haven't, if you are using Service Bus, I'm sure like after this demo you might have noticed the amount of value you can get out of it. So you get all this for $15. We really wanted to go with we wanted to the pricing wise, we wanted to really go with low price, high volume model for Service Bus. So when you have like a namespace, whatever I have shown, you get it for $15 per month. So there's no reason why you shouldn't try it out now. And to make it even more sweeter, we also have some special promotions for this event. Okay, so you can make a note or come see us in a booth. So you should get one of these cards, and you can go try it out yourself. I think I need to maintain the time, so I can't slip. So thank you very much for all your time. Thank you.